Annabel, I feel like some growth in South Africa is good news.
Given celebration.
That, do you know what I mean? So even if it's just a 0.7%, surely we should be
something positive, yeah.
But in the broader scheme of things, not, because you're saying it missed economist expectations, essentially.
Well, that, but also, of course, as well, when you look at a GDP perspective, you look at it quarter-on-quarter, season-adjusted, annualized, and that actually came out at minus 0.5%, and that's a very big component of industrial production. And that very heavy weighting means there's now a strong chance we could see a recession in the industrial production figures in the first half of this year.
What's pulling us down? Because we've got the vehicle sector that's seemingly making a turnaround. I mean, where are the pressure spots in manufacturing?
Well, actually, there were basically most of the sectors that pulled us down. There's about 10 sectors, and only 2 of them recorded a positive figure. And I think that's quite reflective of the broad-based weakness we're seeing in the South African economy. And I think also, the key issue as well that we're facing in South Africa is that we haven't really seen that big growth spurt come through that so many people had expected. They expected a faster economic growth on the back of a rise in business confidence. That really didn't get above 50. Yeah. And then, of course, expecting the Ramaphosa to pull through into fixed investment growth. That didn't come through as well. I think there could be a bit of disappointment coming through in the figures. But, of course, as well, bear in mind, manufacturing production also beholden on the agricultural sector. And it looks like the second quarter is going to record another negative outturn in GDP for agriculture. AgBiz today said it might be down as much as 20%.
Which, I was reading that, and I thought that the pressure spots was only in the Western Cape in terms of where unfavorable weather conditions were. I thought the agricultural sector is in a much better position this year than it was this time last year.
And certainly it is, but the big issue has come for the second quarter that they harvested very late.
Right.
And those good figures that you're talking about are all going to come through in the third quarter. It wasn't just because of the maize harvest which came in late. Sugar also came in late as well, some of the other seed crops. And of course that has resulted in this, I suppose, a bit weaker than expected agricultural outcome that's being forecast for the moment now. There's a possibility the first quarter may see a bit of an upward revision but still remain negative. So what you've really got is contraction in industrial production in the first quarter, quite possibly one in the second quarter as well, contraction in agriculture in the first quarter, seemingly quite likely one in the second quarter as well. It places GDP at risk of a recession now.
But then that recession, is this something that we should be worried about? Is this something that the ratings agencies are going to be looking at for the second quarter? Or, as you're suggesting, we're seeing an uptick in the third and fourth quarter, it's not too much of a concern?
Look, I think, for us, the credit rating agencies will be coming through possibly the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, to have a look at how we're faring. And, of course, by that stage, the recession, if we do have one, we're expecting really weak growth, possibly not an actual recession. But nevertheless, it will be historic. And of course, with a big maize harvest coming through in the third quarter, with expectations that we see a lift in economic growth, they may choose to have some more patience with us. But of course, their patience can wear thin. And that's the real risk that we're playing here at the moment, given that we still have great financial troubles at Eskom, many of the other SOEs as well.
I mean, we're talking about manufacturing, and industrial production, but of course this extends to the mining sector. Figures there haven't yet come out, but what should we be expecting?
Look, I think that's the big risk, because the mining sector is quite a significant contributor to this industrial production figure, to GDP as well, can have an influence quite meaningfully because you tend to get big moves. And of course, in the mining sector, if we don't see economic growth of about 4% month on month for June, seasonally adjusted, if we don't see that good growth coming through, then it means that the industrial sector will unfortunately slip into a recession. The mining sector itself, as you said, has not been performing well, beset by many issues and problems. So I think, we may have to brace ourselves for a small recession in the first half of this year, but then move on to better times in the second half.
Who laughs at recession, Annabel?
I think it's just become too much, We keep talking about this poor economic growth, things just not getting better as people have expected. And, one doesn't really know what to say. This was supposed to be the year of good performance.
Except the leading indicator is guiding for good performance for the, the better half of what is remaining for the year. So to what extent will this be a driver in us seeing slightly better days?
I think it's usually quite a good indicator, and I think we will see a lift-off. And, you know, obviously, if we do see that improvement in the agricultural sector, it's going to boost the manufacturing sector.
Sure.
It's going to feed through. But really, I think all we're waiting for at the moment to see what does retail sales do in the second quarter of this year. And if we can see a lift going forwards, if we can see consumer spending pick up, and of course, we've got those very good consumer confidence readings that came out for the first and second quarter, then I think we're going to start to see the cycle lift. I think the cycle is going to have to be led by the consumer. It's not coming through on the production or investment side.